Picture yourself walking into a crowded room. A meeting, a party, it doesn't matter. Everyone is talking over each other. Voices climbing higher and higher. Each person competing for airtime like it's a limited resource. And somewhere in all that noise, you spot someone who isn't doing any of it. They're sitting quietly in the corner. Completely still. Watching. Not scrolling their phone. Not rehearsing what they're about to say. Just observing. And there's something about that person that makes everyone else in the room slightly nervous. Even if they can't explain why. That's not shyness. That's power. We've been taught to fear silence. To fill every gap in conversation with words. Any words. Because silence feels like an admission of something, that we're boring. Or awkward. Or don't belong. But that belief is one of the most expensive lies we've swallowed whole. Because the moment you open your mouth, you're handing the other person a map to everything inside you. Your insecurities, your pressure points, your desperation to be liked or approved of. You're showing your cards before the game has even started. The quiet person in the corner? They're not being passive, they're collecting intelligence. Every word you volunteer, every nervous laugh, every overly detailed explanation, they're filing it all away. They're not shy, they're hunting. Let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. Imagine a high-stakes negotiation. Late at night, fluorescent lighting, two people across a table. One of them, let's call him Alex, has spent 2 weeks preparing his pitch. He delivers it confidently, lays out his final price, and then stops talking. The other person says absolutely nothing. No nod, no raised eyebrow, no reaction at all, just steady eye contact and silence. 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. And here's where human biology completely betrays Alex. His brain, which was wired over millions of years to treat social silence as a threat signal, starts catastrophizing. He hates the number. I asked for too much. He's about to walk, say something, fix it. His throat tightens, his heart rate spikes, cortisol floods his system, and his fight or flight response kicks in, except he can't fight or run. So he does the next worst thing. He opens his mouth. Of course, this price is flexible. I could probably come down 10%. And just like that, it's over. The quiet one didn't pull a weapon. Alex handed his over voluntarily. Why does this happen to intelligent, capable adults? The answer is buried deep in our evolutionary past. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived in tribes, and in those tribes, communication was survival. When a group suddenly went silent and stared at one individual, that was a warning sign, punishment, exclusion, exile. In that era, being cast out of your tribe was essentially a death sentence. That ancient wiring is still running in your modern brain. Neuroscience has actually confirmed that social pain, being ignored, excluded, or met with silence, activates the same region of the brain as physical pain. Your anterior cingulate cortex cannot tell the difference between being stonewalled in a meeting and being punched in the face. Silence genuinely hurts. And on top of that, your brain is addicted to certainty. When someone goes quiet, the incoming data cuts off. And your mind does the only thing it knows how to do, it fills in the blanks. And it always fills them in with the worst possible scenario. They're angry. I messed up. This is bad. The silent person didn't do a single thing. You scared yourself. They just gave you the space to do it. Now, I can already hear the objection forming. Isn't this just manipulation? Isn't communication supposed to be about connection, not combat? And that's a genuinely fair question, I respect it. But here's the reframe. In a world where most people blurt out every half-formed thought the second it arrives, choosing to stay quiet isn't manipulation. It's emotional discipline. You're not silent to harm someone. You're silent because you're not going to hand a stranger a psychological profile of yourself just to ease their discomfort. When you don't react, you become a mirror, and people are forced to see their own anxiety and impulsiveness reflected back at them. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. There's also a simple information economy at work here. The person who speaks less has a higher signal-to-noise ratio. When they do say something, it lands differently, because it's rare. That's basic supply and demand. You want your words to be gold, not filler. And then there's the attention economy problem, which makes all of this even more urgent. Every major platform on the internet has one goal: get you to talk. Share, react, post. Because your words are data. And data is money. The implicit message social media sends you is, if you're not posting, you don't exist. So people overshare constantly, half-finished thoughts, emotional reactions, personal struggles, all of it broadcast publicly. And every detail you put out there is a coordinate that tells the world exactly where your buttons are and how to press them. Meanwhile, you know almost nothing about the people reading it. You are going into battle without armor while everyone else is fully suited up. So let's talk about 3 practical techniques, not for becoming cold or robotic, but for becoming someone who chooses asterisk when to speak rather than someone who can't stop speaking. The first is what I call the 3-second rule. When someone asks you a difficult question or makes an unreasonable demand, don't answer immediately. Look them in the eye. Count 3 seconds silently, and then respond. That pause does something remarkable. It breaks the rhythm they were expecting. It signals that you're evaluating their question, not scrambling to please them. It shifts the energy in the room. The critical detail though, your eyes have to stay steady. If you go quiet but look at your shoes, you're not projecting power, you're projecting anxiety. The silence only works when paired with calm, direct eye contact. Together, they create a kind of nonverbal authority that words simply cannot manufacture. The second technique is what psychologists call the gray rock method. This is specifically for dealing with people who thrive on emotional reactions, the provocateurs, the drama magnets, the people who push your buttons for sport. The principle is simple. They feed on your reactions. If you get angry, they win. If you get defensive, they win. So instead, you become deeply, profoundly uninteresting. Short answers, flat tone, no visible emotion. I see. Noted. Thanks. You give them nothing to grip. No friction, no spark, no blood in the water. Eventually, like any predator that can't find prey, they move on. Just be careful not to confuse this with the silent treatment, that's using silence as punishment, which is a form of aggression. Gray rock is about protection, not revenge. You're still responding. You're just responding the way a very boring rock would. The third is strategic ambiguity, and this one might be the most powerful of all. Stop being a book with the last page visible. When someone asks about your plans, give a broad answer. When you succeed, resist the urge to explain exactly how. Let people's imaginations fill the gap. Because here's what I've observed again and again. People respect what they can't fully read. Mystery isn't evasiveness, it's discernment. You're not lying to anyone. You're simply choosing which cards to show and which to keep face down on the table. Your ego will push you to overshare, to explain yourself, to get credit. Don't let it. The strategy matters more than the applause. Pythagoras said it simply. Speak only if what you have to say is worth more than your silence. Think of your words as ammunition. You have a finite amount. Don't fire them into the air just because you enjoy the sound. Fire them when they count. From today, try this. Walk into any room and just watch more than you talk. Let others reveal themselves. You'd be amazed what you learn about the world when you stop narrating your experience of it and start actually paying attention to it. Real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to.